trilateral meeting ng Japan, Amerika at ng Pilipinas, ating pag-uusapan kasama si Dr. Jeffrey Ordaniel, Associate Professor of International Security Studies, Tokyo International University and Director for Maritime Security from Pacific Forum International. Dr. Ordaniel, magandang tanghali po at welcome sa Bagong Pilipinas Ngayon.
Magandang hapon po.
Professor, pinagtibay po sa Trilateral Summit ng Pilipinas, Amerika at Japan ang kooperasyon para protektahan ang Indo-Pacific region. Ano po ang reaksyon nyo dito?
I think the US-Japan-Philippines Trilateral was an idea waiting to happen. Ang trilateral partnership po na ito ay isa lamang sa mga sinasabi nating mini-lateral arrangements purposely designed to counter specific threats na common sa mga bansang kaanib sa mga arrangements na ito. So in the Indo-Pacific region, we have, of course, the US-Japan Republic of Korea Trilateral, Australia, UK, US Partnership or AUKUS, at ang pinakabago nga ay itong US-Philippines-Japan Trilateral. Obviously, yung trilateral natin with the US and Japan is underpinned largely by threats in the West Philippine Sea and the broader South China Sea. All these countries want to see the West Philippine Sea and the broader South China Sea to remain free, open, and rules-based. So napakahalaga nito para sa Pilipinas dahil meron tayong national interest na pinangangalagaan sa West Philippine Sea. Pero mahalaga rin siya sa Japan dahil nga Japan is a maritime state. It does not want China to call the shots in the South China Sea. Rather, it wants international law to prevail. And the United States obviously has a treaty alliance with both countries, with Japan and with ours. So its credibility as a security guarantor is also on the line. In addition to sharing the concerns of both Tokyo and Manila regarding China's coercive maneuvers in the South China Sea.
Dr. Ordaniel, magandang tanghali po. Sa kanilang joint statement, nagpahayag ng serious concern ang tatlong bansa sa mga mapanganib at aggressive na pagkilos ng China sa West Philippine Sea. Ano po sa tingin ninyo ang impact nito?
Asik Arnel, tingin ko ho, it will result in more trilateral coordination and cooperation that will add up and enable the Philippines to maintain the status quo in the West Philippine Sea and withstand Chinese coercion. Kung titingnan ho natin, both the United States and Japan have been very important partners of the Philippines in helping us increase our maritime capacity over the years. Ang pinagkaiba before this trilateral, yung mga efforts ng US and Japan with the Philippines were largely independent of each other. Meaning there were efforts, but these were parallel efforts. With the US obviously focusing on beefing up the Philippine Navy through exercises and provisions of equipment and vessels. And the Japanese have been focused on civilian maritime capacity building. So in particular with the Philippine Coast Guard. So kung maalala po ninyo, Japan has provided, I think since the Aquino administration, 12 brand new Coast Guard vessels. That allows the PCG to maintain constant presence sa mga areas na unti-unting kinukuha ng China. So ngayon, meron na tayong trilateral mechanism. So in essence, I think my expectation is there will be more efficient and strategic coordination on how to better build Philippine capacity, division of labor, kumbaga, to make sure that China does not continue to coerce its way to domination of the South China Sea and the region.
Sa ibang usapin naman, after the multilateral maritime cooperative activity in the West Philippine Sea with the Defense Forces of Philippines, Australia, Japan, and America, do you think dapat nating ipagpatuloy po ang mga ganitong activity matapos magbitiw ng statement ng China that we, quote-unquote, mess up the situation after the maritime activity?
Oh, absolutely. Hindi lang dapat joint sale ang mangyari, kundi dapat talaga trilateral and quadrilateral exercises specifically designed to counter gray zone coercion. So we're not just talking about deterrence in terms of high-intensity conflict or yung sinasabi nilang outright na gera. Ang pinaka-importante is yung coercion ng China na below the threshold of an armed attack, gaya ng paggamit ng maritime militia o mga peking mangingisda, paggamit ng Coast Guard, ng water cannon against our maritime authorities, dapat lahat ng to ay hindi magtagumpay. Meaning, we maintain our presence and effective jurisdiction sa mga areas na ito kahit na may mga ganong mga activities ang China. In other words, di tayo mapasuko by default dahil nagkulang sa barko or nagkulang sa fuel or nagkulang sa result. So I think more maritime cooperative activities like what happened recently should be done with the United States and our other important partners like Japan and Australia. Also, these activities add up to reinforce the 2016 Arbitral Award.
Nagsagawa din ang People's Liberation Army ng kanilang sariling combat patrols sa West Philippine Sea. Do you think this is something that we have to worry about?
I think long term, yes, but I think the more urgent concern is really the gray zone portion. Yung hamon na yung bang patraidor na galaw. Yung sinasabing gray zone meaning yung mga hindi outright na use of force. Kung titingnan natin, they got the mischief reef in 1995. They established presence in the Scarborough Shoal in 2012. Hindi through the use of force, but rather through activities na hindi masyadong halata. Send muna na kunyari ng fishing boats, susundan ng Coast Guard, tapos gagawing normal ang presence, and so on and so forth. So I think we should focus at this point on trying to withstand that kind of coercion. But long term, definitely the outright use of force is worrisome, and we should be taking a look at what the Chinese has been doing in as far as their military exercises are concerned.
Sir, may tanong po dito mula sa ating kasamahan sa media na si Pia Gutierrez ng ABS-CBN News. Former President Duterte in a previous interview confirmed a status quo agreement with China on the WPS which involved not bringing construction materials for the repair and upkeep of the BRP Sierra Madre in Ayungin Shoal. Gaano kabigat yung implication ng agreement na ito to repair the BRP Sierra Madre? At gaano po ba kahalaga ang Sierra Madre to the Philippines and its maritime entitlements in the WPS?
Okay, so I think that agreement, kung totoo man na merong agreement pero hindi written, that is in violation of the Philippine Constitution and the violation of the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea and a violation of the 2016 Arbitral Award. So in second tama shoal, kung para sa mga kababayan nating hindi pa masyadong gamay yung issue na ito, ang second tama shoal ay isang low tide elevation. Ano po bang ibig sabihin niya? Ibig po sabihin niya lumulubog po yan kapag high tide. Kapag lumulubog po siya kapag high tide, ibig pong sabihin yan, hindi po siya pwedeng i-claim na territory ng kahit na sinong bansa. Ano ho yung claim natin dyan? Yung claim natin dyan is ang fact na siya po, ang second Tama Shoal po ay located within our 200 nautical mile EEZ. Meaning, we have the exclusive rights to exploit and explore for resources and also the exclusive right to build artificial structures. So, kung mag-decide man ang Pilipinas na we reinforce that vessel and maybe build a structure on top of it, that's within our rights under international law. So kaya medyo mabigat ho kung totoo man yan, yung agreement na yan, and it has implications on our obviously relations with China, but at the same time, President Marcos is right in really reinforcing the rules-based international order. In other words, dapat ang mamayani dyan sa West Philippine Sea is not the whims of whoever politician or whichever power, but international law.
Okay, dito naman po tayo sa gobyerno natin na nag-i-expect ng $100 billion investment from President Marcos Jr.'s meeting with the two powerful leaders. Ano po sa tingin nyo ang mga dapat abangan natin kaugnay nito?
So I think kung titingnan natin yung joint vision, there was the Luzon Economic Corridor. I think that's a manifestation of the recognition that, greater economic dependence on a single power, in this particular case, China, it can be a vulnerability. So in short, our economic dependence on a single market or a single country, on any sector, especially critical technologies, semiconductors, etc., can be used as a lever through which to coerce us in the future. So this cooperation can really allow us to safeguard our strategic autonomy, meaning we are not going to subordinate our national security interests just to gain economic incentives or growth, right? So I think the United States and the Japanese are aware of these economic coercion as well, and so helping us withstand economic coercion moving forward is a step in the right direction. But at the same time, ano ba ang ibig sabihin nito? I think we can expect more jobs for people, because now the Japanese companies and American companies will now be encouraged by their governments to, if not incentivized by their governments, to invest in the Philippines. Right? So more jobs, more people, higher economic growth trajectory without sacrificing our own national interest in the West Philippine Sea.
Maliban dito sa billion-dollar investment na pwede nating asahan, nagpahayag din ng buong suporta ang US at Japan para tulungan ang Pilipinas sa mga hakbang para ma-address ang climate change. Gaano po ito kahalaga para sa Pilipinas?
Well, climate change is obviously President Biden's priority, and it matches with our needs because the Philippines is one of the countries most negatively impacted by climate change. So we need to mitigate the impact, but also transition to clean energy. Japan and the United States are leaders when it comes to clean energy, like nuclear power, solar, wind. So climate change cooperation with our treaty ally, the United States, and strategic partner Japan are very important for the Philippines.
Okay, magkakaroon din po ng series of dialogues ang Pilipinas at Amerika ngayong taon. Ano po ang tingin ninyo ang dapat tutukan ng dalawang bansa?
Tingin ko they have to talk about the Second Thomas Shoal, and I think that's the most urgent challenge. It's where China is trying to act with impunity and try to dislodge our presence there. It is time for the Philippines and the United States to discuss imposing actual cost on China. And some people have asked, what can that cost look like, right? So if you review, ang dami ng mga policy recommendations na naglabasan from Filipino experts dyan sa Manila and also from Washington, D.C., kung ano ba talagang pwedeng magawa na making sure that the Chinese do not succeed in changing the status quo of the Second Thomas Shoal. So perhaps one idea is for the United States to escort our resupply mission, perhaps part of a joint military exercise programming or conducted in tandem with the U.S. Navy Freedom of Navigation operations, which they do regularly, by the way. Doing so would allow us to maintain the status quo in the Second Thomas Shoal and withstand Chinese coercion. Frankly, more statements that condemn China's behavior at sea or more rhetorical expressions of support for the Philippines, while very good, will have very negligible impact. So I think there has to be a thorough discussion on what exactly are the acceptable costs, acceptable to the United States, acceptable to us, that we can impose on China. Otherwise, China will continue to push the envelope and at some point perhaps succeed in changing the status quo.
Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Dr. Jeffrey Ordaniel, Associate Professor of International Security Studies, Tokyo International University, and Director for Maritime Security from Pacific Forum International.
Thank you po.